Alright, and we're on for Chapter 2. Shozo Kaga Berwick Saga. Further investigation indicates that the stable guard sold my horses to the Neem bandits, so Reese wants to sortie and recover them. Volsons has the army guarding his crib day and night and day, and changing his diaper, and as a side effect of this, banditry has skyrocketed, and there are now over 1,000 of the Neem bandits. Roswick begs Volsons to allow us to go deal with them and to allow him to help us. Volsons instead forces Reese to go with his knights alone, and finish in 2 days, or be branded a traitor subject to execution, and with title confiscated, so no longer a lord. This is kind of Volson's, this is like his thing. And once I finish getting my marching orders, I blow almost all of the money that I have buying iron weapons because they have higher accuracy, and accuracy is low across the board, as I believe I mentioned this early in the game. Because Sylvis and Ruby both need to reach level 10 before I can recruit them, I bring them along, and I bring Dean because he is very good. Mercenaries gain more happiness points when they are brought on main missions than they do when they are brought on side missions. But the price of that is that they will cost twice as much to recruit for a main mission than they will to recruit after the main mission is done, though they do stay recruited for the entirety of the chapter after you hire them, for the rest of that chapter anyway. Ruby and Sylvis both need, like, I think 12 happiness, and hiring them is plus 0.5, and deploying on a main mission is, I think, plus 1. Deploying on a side mission is plus 0.5. So because happiness can also be raised by feeding units food that they like, I buy food for Ruby, Sylvis, and Reese. Berry Bell made chicken, and the game will never tell you what the food does until after you buy it, but you can find a chart on Serenus Forest that will tell you. And this particular chicken boosts XP gain by 50%. This is good for my young ladies for obvious reasons. It's good for Reese because he only gets to be deployed in main chapters. So let's go kill bandits. Again, first turn, I'm just setting up the old 1-2 with Sylvis. This butthole here has one of my horses, and he's across the river from me, and none of my Drews can get to him. I did not bring Axel, who can walk on water, so I have to go the long way around. This guy, obviously, because he is mounted has Canto Plus, so it can be a big pain in the ass to deal with him, were it not for the fact that Sylvis has Overwatch, and Elbert can bait. So, Elbert baits, Sylvis outsmarts, I cream. Positioning Reese is pretty important here because his personal skill gives that plus 10 hit. I send Ruby north with Dean. Those caves have things that I want once I get rid of the excess flesh carrying them. Also, there are at least a couple of axe-wielding enemies northwards, and there's at least a chance then that Ruby can contribute given her Axebane skill. That's good since it means that I can get her some sword and lance rank, and there is no weapon triangle in Berwick Saga, so the fact that I'm using lances and they've got axes is not a big deal. Axebane procs regardless anyway, so... There are going to be dudes coming out of these caves up north here though, so I am relying on Dean to handle what comes out. Case in point, this thief. Keltzer is fast, and he has advantage, so he's been pretty well spec'd to be a pain in the ass. Ruby, for instance, would be shafted if she was dealing with him. Dean, however, has the desperation skill, so even though he takes advantage hit calculated to stop him cold, desperation means that I get a guaranteed shot to shoot, and Dean one-taps the fucker. Meantimes, Faye, Kramer, and Zen are now in my party. No green units in this chapter, thank Christ. I just gotta keep them out of range of the thief down on the eastern side, because Faye has a personal weapon that gives her 2 attacks, and Kramer also has, well, Kramer just has a normal sword, but it does have 60% accuracy. This thief down here has a sword breaker, and he will preferentially target both Faye and Kramer, and then break their weapons, and that really sucks. So I'm gonna keep them out of range of him. I want all of the uses I can get out of Faye's Cutlass. Faye's pretty cool. Kramer is also quite useful, mostly to bait enemies into attacking him on cliffs. Cliffs cancel out a void for all units except for Kramer. It doesn't mean that he's guaranteed to dodge, it just means that he doesn't suffer an avoid penalty, so he can still get hit. It's by no means safe, but it's safer. Faye is the classical female Myrmidon in a Fire Emblem game. Useful, but also squishy. Low HP growths. Her and Kramer are actually pretty similar, but for the fact that Kramer has a higher HP growth and does not get to attack twice, unless you give him a weapon that attacks twice. Faye, however, has Adept, and she has the Iaido skill, which gives her a chance to counterattack when she dodges, and she has a Sunder skill, which means you can sacrifice movement for a boosted crit chance. Game really wants you to use Faye. And I'm gonna use them both. So it's slow going, but I'm getting Ruby and Reese some kills. I take care of the thief by retreating until my lance users can get a piece of him. And then this big bitch comes out of the northern cave with a broadsword. Scary. very strong weapon, and it has crit, and crits in this game do up to plus 20 damage. So I don't want to take any strikes from this guy. So I have Albert and Silvis do the bait and switch inside of the Reese's CO zone, and he doesn't get a chance to swing that broadsword at me. Still have to play careful though, since this is a Kaga game, and 1RN, check out this 96% miss from Silvis. But because I was not complacent and I hadn't moved Reese away, I get next turn another shot at the 96%, which statistically, yep, there we go, he's gone. But I shouldn't be flippant about it. Zalius is a scary bastard, and the offhand way that I just described the encounter misrepresents a genuinely tricky customer, and pays insufficient tribute to the incredible utility of Albert and Silvis. Zalius is fast, therefore dodgy, and because both caves and forests give avoid bonuses in Berwick Saga, that means that his first move is guaranteed to leave him in terrain, which exacerbates the problem. He has a very strong weapon, at least for this early in the game, and melee is a nervy bit of business with 1RN crit chance, especially because he has a skill allowing him to counter you even if you initiate combat and strike him. Which, admittedly, I forgot here when I used Dean to attack. There wasn't a massive risk of death, but it was a misplay, because if Zalius had hit his 6% crit and then rolled the full possible plus 20 damage, then Dean would have died by like 2 points of HP. So if I was going to take the risk, I really should have had Dean at full health. Anyway, so the only real safe play here is to use ranged attacks, because Berwick's turn allotment is not phase-based, but given by player to enemy unit ratio. If you attack him at range, you are now in range to be attacked by him once the enemy gets to make their move. If you bring Ward, this is not such a big deal, because Ward has a skill allowing him to swap himself for a single allied unit in combat, and he's really bulky. But I'm nickel and diming for combat experience, and so I left Ward benched. And that means that ideally, I need to get Zalius to 1, not attack my units on his turn, and 2, stand on terrain without avoid bonuses. That allows Reese to stay nearby to offer his CO accuracy passive without being in danger of getting RNG crit and wrecking my run in his cradle. I also want to focus my efforts to kill Zalius after he has used up his move for the turn, so that he doesn't get a chance to use the vulnerary which is in his inventory, and which would thereby force me into more rounds of dangerous combat with him. Practically for me, this means that I'm using Silvis and Albert and Reese, and 2 more units. Albert's provoke skill will make the enemy move to attack him, and only him, and ignore the other units in the way. This satisfies the first condition. The second is met by positioning Albert directly next to Silvis and body blocking Zalius' side so that his AI paths him along the shortest route to Albert, which I can manipulate to be into a plains tile and out of the forest. That puts him directly and just barely into the 2 range of Silvis's Overwatch. Overwatch will proc when an enemy moves into range, and it will allow Silvis to take a shot. If that shot damages the opponent, then they will be stopped in their tracks. However, if the shot misses, then they get to complete their action. Even next to Reese using her most accurate bow and arrow with Zalius outside of forest terrain, Silvis's hit rate on the Overwatch is only 63%. I should have had somebody nearby Silvis blocking the other forest tiles and forcing Zalius to push the rest of his move into plains tiles as well, because after all, had Silvis missed, although Zalius would still have moved towards Albert and not attacked her, he would have made it into the nearby forest and gotten the requisite avoid bonus. And as we see, even with 30% accuracy boosted by Silvis's aim skill without Zalius in forest, she's still only got 96%. So if I hadn't gotten lucky with that 63, Zalius would have been able to shoot a shot. Would he have killed someone at a 6% crit chance and no guarantee of the max plus 20 damage? Probably not, no. But the tension is real, the more so since I also should note that this occurred on turn 13. So, Ironman rule set aside, if you'd been playing the game on PS2 and had no access to save states, then your last checkpoint was on turn 10. So a reset here would have cost you several turns to replay. The mind of Kaga is unknowable, but I find it hard to believe that these spawn conditions for Zalius were anything other than precisely calculated. The Lord overlooks all, and the Lord overlooks nothing. So I bulb my units up, and I push rightwards. This thief with some treasure shows up and offers an example of why it pays to respect 1RN crit. He shows, and I've already got Faye in position, so I could have just taken an opportunistic Iaido and giving her a plus 25% crit chance in addition to attacking with her personal weapon that strikes twice. But I elect instead to play safe and move Izerna out of range of the thief instead. And I am validated. Daggers ignore defense and shields, dealing a flat damage value, usually quite low, like 1 or 2, plus the strength stat of the unit in question. Since thieves have low strength, this is usually little more than an annoyance, but what do you know? 9% crit chance, and he shivs Adel for 17 damage. Still, just about all of my units are high health at the moment, so because I moved Izerna out of the way, no one else is in any real danger, and I dump this guy's body in a ditch and take his wallet. I am making a big ruckus tracking south across the shoals, and I wake Teravan from his beauty sleep all grumpy. He's got a breaker axe, so if he hits a unit with a shield, the shield breaks. But the axe is a weapon with a rank higher than Teravan's level, and so there's a chance that in combat his attack will simply fail. So before he can get a firm enough hold on his haft, I've killed him and taken his strength brace. Tough luck. Valentin has now aggroed to me, and he's got a magic sword which guarantees he'll damage even if I block all the physical damage with a shield. You can have magic in this game, but you don't have res, so it pulls double duty. As I was saying, this means that that Valentin will damage you pretty much no matter how high your defense. He can't double though, and his damage output is not high enough to pose a threat now that he has no backup. So it's really only a matter of time before I kill him. I have him waste some movement by provoking with Elbert, and he drops without real difficulty. Ben Gritton has been sitting on my seize point for the entire map and proccing this rally cry that he's got. This stacks damage and accuracy buff. So at present, I've taken my time getting here. It's like we're on turn 20 plus. So if I take melee combat with him, he's got a very nice chance to one-shot any of my units. However, the one-shot risk is only real at melee range, and because he's stationary, it's really quite trivial to initiate ranged combat, delete his buff, and after that he folds instantly. And we win. I head back to Navarone, pick up the bounty on Valentin's head, and give my report. So Volson's is typically ungrateful, and his advisors play Grima Wormtongue at me. Whatevs. Herman is not actually wrong. I did pick up some treasure from the bandit camp, but I'm gonna offshore that when he's not looking. And we'll just mum's the word on that one. Zen joins us permanently, and we get a lead on our missing horses. Okay, cool. Let's go get my +2 speed back. Thank you. I am leaving Kramer behind for this one because there's no cliffs, but I'm going to grab Faye so that I can start boosting her happiness level a bit. She is an easier recruitment than Ruby, if for no other reason than that she is a better combat unit, so I won't use her as much, but she needs levels and I am here to provide. Let's go. Easy enough, not much to say here. Long corridors, no terrain, slow movement, low hit rates. I use Faye to dodge tank and feed kills mostly to Ruby and Sylvis because they still have the food effect for the entirety of the chapter, which means they've still got that EXP boost going. Nothing too hair-raising. I burn a couple of vulneraries because I didn't bother to bring a healer, but then I get a beautiful cripple with Faye. I feel very, very guilty about handing that kill to Ruby afterwards, but she did get a full level from it, so it was worth. Anyways, 2 more hearses are now mine. Thank you. These are going to go to Adel for the speed boost and for Reese. And now we do the next side quest. I am training scrubs by wiping out a nearby Imperial supply camp. So I swing by the orphanage to pick up Axel first because Axel can walk on water. He does not promote, but he's not terribly difficult to recruit as long as you use him a couple times. Being able to swim is very useful, such as in this map, where I need a drawbridge lowered, and I could either swing the wide way around and take hits from a bunch of soldiers with spears, a knight with quite good defense, and if I take long enough, a ballista, and also the supply caravan will escape. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to bring Axel. I send Axel over the bridge, he drops it and then chokes the escape point so that the supply wagon cannot escape, and that supply wagon drops a repair stone if I kill it, which is very useful. Meantimes, I choke the bridgehead with Sylvis, Ruby, and the other infantry units, while I send Faye up to take care of the other wagon transporting the ballista bolts. I cannot attack the ballista with her yet because it puts her in range of a spearman and an axeman, and if both hit her, then she'll die, and I need her for chapter 3. So I pull her back, mop up at the bridge, ball all of my units up, and then push over the bridge and westward. Then I roll back east to finish the map. Aside from that one weird armor knight who did not attack me, that's the whole camp wiped. Nice. Now for chapter 3. I buy horses for most of the Xenon Knights in preparation because I will need mobility here. I use the repair stone I just got to fix up my 2 beat-up iron spears. This may be wasteful, but I also kind of want to be able to use Deathmatch on Leon without fear of my weapon breaking mid-combat and getting him killed. So I am gonna say that it's worth it for the peace of mind. And that's a wrap for Chapter 2.